navigate all of this legislation, all of our 170 programs. So I'd like to introduce Scott Johnson. He's right here. Lucretia Hughes, I don't know if you all know her. And they are just huge participants. So we're going to do a panel here, but I wanted to, first of all, and this is something I do because of my background. So I have spent a little time here in Georgia, mostly at Fort Benning, a little bit at Dahlonega, up in northern Georgia, and then 3 years, but 2 of 3 years in Hinesville. The other year was over in the sandbox. So I'm familiar with that. So what I'd like to do though is, just to show our community, if you are military or retired, or a first responder or retired, or law enforcement or retired, or a family member, will you please stand up and just let us acknowledge you? Take a look at our community. Service that you've done. So far, Biden's been in office, what are we going on, 2 years? No AR ban, no MAG ban, no universal background checks. Yes, we still have the Testing of Lawful Commerce and Arms Act. That's what we've gotten. We've also gotten 25 constitutional carry states, including, thank you, Georgia, and a Supreme Court decision this past week that is just huge for us moving forward. But as Bob Barr said, that's the first stage. And it's the first stage of protecting our rights as we go forward. So what I want to do today, and what you're going to get treated to, is we're going to bring a panel up here, and we'll bring them up. They'll explain a little bit about themselves, but then we're going to open it up to some questions and answers so you can see them. But you'll get an idea of not just the inclusion in our community, the diversity of our community, but all the activities that we do and the outreach and the number of people we're touching, especially in this new world. 16 million first-time firearms owners, and it's not because, God bless them, I know some of them are going on to, but they're all watching those riots in Portland, they're watching the riots in D.C., they're watching the murders in Chicago. So a lot of those people are coming out. We need to reach out to them because they are also going to be our voters, and that's why we're all here today. So let me start by introducing some of those folks, and I'm going to ask you to come on up here and grab a seat. First of all, Christy Connor Tate. Please come on up, Christy. Christy's with the DC Project. She's competitive. She's a legal professional living in North Georgia. She's competed in more than 180 competitive shooting matches. And Christy leads the DC Project here in Georgia. Now, the DC Project, and I've loved this program since its beginning. It raises awareness that firearm safety and violence prevention are achieved through education, not legislation. They encourage the preservation of America's gun culture and highlight the diversity and rising demographic of the female gun owners through ongoing advocacy, because gun rights are women's rights. And she is here today, I think, without Lucky, her dog, who's usually with her all the time. But so, once more, welcome, Christy. Patrick Collins. Where are you, Patrick? There you go. Patrick's coming up. Patrick's the CEO of thegunfood.com. Patrick Collins is the CEO of thegunfood.com, an economical, quick-process ammunition supply company, and a contributing owner of Georgia Firearms and Security Training Academy. He's very active in supporting gun rights on the local, state, and national level. He started shooting competitively in USPSA and IDPA leagues. After becoming an instructor, he's instructed in more than 12 states. He's an NRA lifetime member, a certified instructor, and when he's not doing this, he's by training, he's a mechanical engineer. So give it up, Pat. And some of y'all may be not here, you're standing right out here with advocating for all of our votes. Adam Keller, where are you? Oh, there you are. Come on up, Adam. Adam's the president of the Buckhead Young Republicans. Adam's the first president from Jacksonville University in Florida, and worked in politics since he got out of college and even while he was in college. He partnered with the DeKalb County GOP and the Republican Party of Florida for the 2016 elections, and then moved to Georgia. The Buckhead Young Republicans are Georgia's oldest young Republican club. The organization of young professionals meets twice a month for guest speaking events. So, old, young, and young Republicans are what now, 40 and below, or are we getting older or younger? Okay, so taking one of his events. And I'm going to open up the question and answers because I wanted these folks, first let's hear about them a little bit, and then I'm going to open up, I've got a question because I want to know what we're doing about all of these first-time firearms owners. But Christy, if you would start this off and just let us know a little bit more about you.
I'm Christy Conarte. I'm pushing 60 years old. I started competitive shooting when I was 52. So you can all get off your couch and start competitive shooting anytime you want to. It's an awesome way to meet people that are like-minded, get really good at gun handling, and you can take all the stress management skills you learn when that beeper goes off, and you can get some room here, and apply it to your regular work. I am one of the original members of the DC Project. We were originally just a grassroots group. We were self-funded, meaning if you wanted to go to DC, you had to buy your own plane ticket, pay your own hotel reservation, and we were committed to do that because we kept hearing from our members of Congress that they needed people to come talk to them. And when we hear people like Maxine Waters call a magazine a clipazine, we knew they needed us. So we've been going to DC to try to help educate members of Congress because we thought, you know, if we don't agree with them, we don't like what they're doing, at least they'll be doing it based on what's accurate. And no, we do not use 50 cal bullets in an AR-15, and they're really not. So these are the things that we wanted to do, and we are a bipartisan group, and this is so important to keep in mind now, because so many gun owners are also Democrats people. They're not all white old men, and that is the stereotype. And that's one of the things that we want to do as the DC Project, is to crash through that stereotype and give members of Congress a picture of what a gun owner really looks like. We are the woman that is going to have to defend our family. We are the woman that needs a gun to level the playing field. We are not the girl in the black leather with the long hair doing kung fu fighting, swinging guns around that Hollywood shows everybody. We understand the DC Project that a gun does not make you more powerful. It doesn't solve your problems like they say in Hollywood. It's an equalizer. And it's one that's available to every American, regardless of what color you are, your economic status, your political leaning. It is the most bipartisan right that we have. And all of these 40 million new gun owners, I think you understated it, Willis. A lot of them aren't Republicans, they're Democrats. They're not all white people. We've got to learn how to engage with those people. And that's what we're going to talk about today. That's what the DC Project does. Women are mission critical in winning the hearts and minds of the public on both sides of the aisle. Because my husband was in law enforcement for 25 years, and he used to say to me, you know, Christy, the reason female police officers are so important is because you can talk somebody into the car without ever having to go past that first level of force, which is your presence. Because we can be calming, we can unify people. You know, some people say we caused all these problems to start with, so maybe, you know, we can do something. With that, I'll hand it back to Willis, because I don't know who he wants to run their mouths next.
Let's just go right on down this one.
Good afternoon, everybody. How's everybody doing today?
Good afternoon.
Woo! All right. Yeah, it's a little quiet here. Come on. I want to hear a little bit more out of you guys. Come on. We are here. All right. Anyhow, my name is Patrick Collins. I am a lifetime member of the NRA as well as GA2A and many other pro-gun advocacy groups throughout the nation. I'm an accredited firearms instructor. I've taught in quite a few places, 12 states, 5 countries, both executive protection, civilians, all the way up to even some police forces. And over the past 10 years, I have worked with people in arming them. Right? So armed individuals, whether it's a executive protector or bodyguard or radio guy, with how to properly and safely handle firearms. So being an instructor is not an easy task, okay? There's a lot of things that we need to overcome. There's a lot of things that we need to ascertain in the moment. And the students really come to us to seek the knowledge and skills that we can provide them. And it may even save their life, all right? I've had 3 students actually come to me and say, I had either defensive gun use or your de-escalation technique helped save my life, or I avoided becoming a victim. And it's extremely important, okay? So we convey the importance of safety. We explain, the potential use of deadly force and what happens both before, during, and after. And that's a lot of things that people don't think about when they arm themselves. I always tell my students, you never know what your role will play in another person's day. Okay? I want you guys to think about that for a second. You never know what your role will play in another person's day. You might be the hero, you might be the victim. Okay? So I'd like to close on some thoughts here. Seek and get training, first aid training, firearms training, whatever it is. Life is a sequence of varying events, and those events that we cannot control. So stay purposeful, and while we're here on this ride, at least get involved and make a difference. All of us can. So again, my name is Patrick Collins, and I'm the CEO of thegunfood.com.
I'm going to go ahead and stand up because I'm a little bit height challenged. Podium's kind of in my way, so I want everyone to be able to see. Thank you all for being here. My name is Adam Keller. I am the president of the Buckhead Young Republicans. I want to first thank my panelists for being up here with me. This is a great honor. I want to thank Marriott for having us. I want to thank the NRA, especially Kelby and Alicia for helping put this on. It's a lot to put on an event of this magnitude. There's a lot of behind the scenes work that a lot of people don't get credit for, but as a former theater major, I always have learned to appreciate the behind the scenes work to make the people on stage look really good. So thank you all. And I also want to thank our veterans and our service members. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your honor. You honor our country and you are heroes to all of us. I also think there's a few young Republicans here in the audience too. Vice President Harrison Parker's back there. And Joaquin, you just got engaged. I haven't even said congratulations to you, man. Congratulations on your engagement. That's awesome.
Thank you.
So yeah, the Buckhead Young Republicans are an organization in Buckhead, Atlanta, obviously, where we have an age group of 18 to 40 for young adults of conservative natures that believe in the principles that our party was founded on, to help advance our cause as a party. And we had an event with the NRA a few months ago, maybe 1 or 2 months ago, and it went off great. There's a lot of laws that we have to talk about that not a lot of people our age even knew about. And my father has been really in the gun industry and in the knife industry, and there's some stuff that I didn't even know. So that was a really eye-opening thing. So there's more than one way to support BYR. It's not just membership. We also have sponsorships, whether you're an individual or business level, and your sponsorship and your support helps us put on really attractive events so that we can get young adults in our area to come out, find a network that we can foster friendships through, which there are great networking connections, great lifelong friendships. I've met some friends in there that I've been to their weddings, and it's a great, great time. And that's the strong relationships that we need to get people, especially young people, out to the polls so that we can vote the right way and get the right people in office. And while we're out there in the back, I noticed that there's been a common theme of people coming up to me and saying, well, young Republican, I'm half that. And I'm like, no, you're full of that. I know that there's a slightly older audience compared to me in here, but my grandparents had 2 sayings. You're only as old as who you feel. So my grandfather always had my grandmother next to him, and he got to be a few years younger. And the other one that they had was, there might be snow on the rooftop, but there's a fire in the furnace. And so stay young at heart, stay with us, be with us. We'd love to have you guys. We'd love to talk more about our events and everything that we have going on. Last night, if I seem tired or crabby, it's because I'm on 3 hours of sleep, a Coca-Cola, my passion for the Second Amendment, and a dream right now. We had an event last night. It was our second biggest event of the year, where we host the Night of the Braves with our BYR age group. We get a hotel room at the Omni Hotel. Get to watch Freddie Freeman come back. That was a pretty emotional night for a lot of people. And it was a huge, huge turnout. And it's turnouts like that that get a good amount of young conservatives involved in the political process and involved in what we believe in, specifically the Second Amendment. And that's what's going to grow our party, that's what's going to grow our future. So by your support, you're helping to grow the next generation of conservatives, of Second Amendment owners, of Second Amendment defenders, and we just want to make sure that we continue to champion everything that we stand for in our family values, in our political values, in our religious values, whatever you seem to be in that circle of ideals. So thank you all very much for having us, and I look forward to taking any questions that you may have.
Elections matter, and they matter at every level, and several folks have mentioned that today, but we often look at our U.S. Senate races, our governor races, congressional races. The school boards are crucial now. We're finding that more and more. Our town and city councils, we're finding more and more. And so some of you who have the wherewithal, now we have the time, you need to get involved in there. We need you involved in there. We need your values coming to that. But we also have some programs, and a lot of times it's our programs that get people involved with us politically. So the NRA's got over 170 programs. It's a huge organization. 125,000 NRA certified instructors training over 1 million Americans every year in firearm safety. You heard that mentioned up here today. This past summer, we passed the 33rd millionth child who presented an Eagle. Just incredible programs that bring folks to us. You can bring folks to us, and then get involved politically. We're not the only ones. USCCA, the DC Project, Gun Food. We've all got programs that we run through there. Our votes are then going to go typically through the Republican Party. But there are Democrats out there, especially at the lower levels of government, who will support our gun rights and freedom across the board. With that, and try to attract different voters who look not like all of us, but like all of us, that's what we're going to talk about a little bit here today. So what I'd like to start with, we'll just start, Chrissy, with you. What is your organization doing about those first-time firearms owners or firearms owners, period, to bring them over and get them active and actually to be voting members of our movement?
You talk about voting members of our movement, like members of the NRA, or just
For the Second
support
Amendment
the Second
movement, to
Amendment?
get folks in office that support us.
It's kind of funny because a lot of the new gun owners did something that my uncle used to tell me. My uncle owned a gun store, and I don't know if y'all remember the LA riots and how they spilled over into Atlanta. And Brian Gumbel, you may remember him. I'm dating myself badly now. He went to my uncle and said, "Hey, these people coming into your gun store buying guns, your sales are out the roof. You know, what's the deal?" And I think he was hoping that my uncle would say something racist, actually. Instead, what he said was, fear knows no economic or political or religious boundaries. Fear is a universal thing. Well, you know, the DC Project, we believe the right to defend ourselves is a universal thing. So, having said all that, I think that, unfortunately, the Biden administration, the support that our government has given to riots and the lack of safety in our cities, has done more for our cause and more to drive that point home than anybody. They said that the Obama administration sold a lot of guns, but I don't think it's let up since Biden came into office. So I think that they're doing almost as much as anybody to make it so that people understand gun rights better than they ever have. Because 40 million people went out and bought guns, and they learned there is no internet loophole because they had to wait for guns when they were terrified. You know, they thought that somebody was going to come through their neighborhood and burn their houses down, or drive them from their homes with megaphones in the middle of the night saying, "Wake up." They learned that these weapons that they purchased and the ammunition that they purchased is hard to find. There is a lot of regulation, and that the government can at any moment take it away. And these are the kinds of things that we emphasize. But for us, it's really more educational and engaging people. You know, how many of you out there think you're perfect in every single way? Guess what? None of us think we're perfect. We don't need to be celebrities or rock stars or politicians to make a difference in the world. And that's what we're telling people at the DC Project. We're telling everybody that you can be an advocate for responsible gun ownership. You can protect your rights, And we're spreading the word that you make a difference just by picking up the telephone and calling a member of Congress. Send a letter. They don't read the emails, I'm telling you. Send a snail mail. But if you call their offices, I've sat there and watched their aides take one call after another, and they do keep track. So those are the kinds of things we're doing, is just to educate. We're trying to say your rights can be taken away, you need them. Recently, we had our DC Project Team 3-gun match in Missouri at the Gadsden Center, and Diana Muller, who is our founder, who she's testified before Congress, and she works tirelessly for the Second Amendment. And with the NRA, without the NRA, by the way, the DC Project would not exist. We wouldn't be able to sustain the movement. But anyway, we brought in a bunch of teachers that wanted to learn about firearms. I think somebody mentioned soccer moms are afraid of guns. That's part of our thing, is educate. We want to make you feel safer. We don't want everybody, you don't have to get a firearm, but don't keep me from getting one. Understand that I care about you as my neighbor. And that's the whole reason that you need to protect the Second Amendment, even if you don't want to own a gun yourself.
Super. Patrick.
So, as far as the movement is concerned, getting people engaged and involved with it, a lot of people have some type of anxiety or fear against the firearm. As far as the Second Amendment is concerned, you have to somehow quench that. You have to put it away and say, listen, people make irreversible actions every day. Okay? So yes, there will be some bad apples in the batch. Unfortunately, that's the truth of the matter. It's human nature. That's what happens. However, if you follow the 4 fundamental rules, which we all should know here, I'm not going to go over them, but the only type of negligent use or bad use of a firearm is either negligent, criminal, or unjustified, right? That's the only type of bad use of it. We want to praise the heroes that save lives every day with firearms. Law enforcement, military, even the defensive gun use. I'll never forget when I first moved down to Georgia. I'm not originally from Georgia, but when I first moved down to Georgia, there was a lady who lived less than a mile away from my house, on the phone with 911. Luckily 911 answered. I've had a call recently, and they don't like to pick up all the time. But anyhow, she was in her house with her child. Husband had just taught her how to use a firearm. It was a revolver, 5-shot revolver. That's all she had. She had a door in her bedroom. She barricaded herself in her bedroom, in the closet, hid in the closet with her child, 5-shot revolver. She warned. Get out my house, I'm on the phone with the police. This is all recorded, by the way, 911. All recorded. Get out my house. I'm on the phone with the police. Get out my house. They're coming right now. The guy continued to make progress in the house to the point where he was in that bedroom and they were hiding in the closet. She decided to take action on her own and defend herself. 4 out of 5 hit him. She fired through the door. That was it. So there's a lot of justified defensive gun uses that are out there. Unfortunately, the media does not cover it. And I explain that to my students that, hey, not everything is a bad event. I had the opportunity to go down to Houston this year. Unfortunately, someone had made an irreversible decision, that is, to take the lives of children and a couple of teachers. And that's something that we cannot control. Even if you take away all of the firearms, you're not going to be able to control the actions of people. So if people want to do harm, they will do harm. And I briefly read last night that there was another shooting in a country that has strict gun control, and as you see, it doesn't work. So gun control is really just a way to say, oh, well, we'll just take them all away from the people, and they'll all get back along together, right? That's not what happens in reality. And so we need to make that reality. I say, fight strong and voice your opinion. Let your politicians know who you are and say, these are my core beliefs and values.
Thank you,
So as far as our involvement with getting our members kind of involved in the Second Amendment and getting people out to vote, especially, it honestly comes down to a couple of things. One of which being education. I think we all kind of touched on this, so I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but it's true. Having events like we did with Kelby, with the NRA, helped educate our members so that they understood what is legal, what's not, what's appropriate, what's not. And with any right, the greatest showing of maturity is restraint, knowing that you can exercise a right a certain way, but choosing not to out of the acknowledgement of the consequences should that right be misused. And it's stuff like that, and the affirmation of our values that, again, we try to preach at every event that we have, and getting like-minded people together, especially in such a blue area, is very refreshing for a lot of our members, and it's so very important that we keep doing that. The other component to this besides education is, again, another record break here of breaking the stereotype. And hopefully, me being up here and talking to you guys, you can understand that we can already start to break the stereotype of every millennial being a brainless idiot like AOC, because we're not all like that. And I hope that I'm helping to be proof of that to you guys. But there's a lot of work that we still have to do. There's a lot of ignorance out there. Social media plays a huge part in misleading my generation as far as what they believe to be true with gun rights, with literally every political issue that's out there, if we were going to be honest. So getting like-minded people together, or people that are a little bit shaky on what they want to believe or what they do believe as far as political values or the rights of the Constitution as far as it applies to them, getting us together and being able to have that safe haven of this is something that we can talk openly about, freely about, not be judged for it, not be yelled at or have a picket sign thrown in their face. Like, that is what we stand for, that is what we need. Again, your support of that helps by allowing us to continue to do events like that and have that home for our members. As far as the elections go, we try to have a speaking event every month. We have a happy hour every first Thursday of the month and a speaking event every third Thursday of the month. And those speaking events are usually surrounded by the topic that's in the news. And when we had the one with the NRA, that was right before the unfortunate events that happened in Texas. But even before then, the topic was still something that really hit home with a lot of people because they've either known people that have been through a tragedy like that, or they have secondhand experience. So it was definitely an important conversation to have about the responsibilities that we have with our rights, especially the Second Amendment. But it also is important to understand that not every young adult out there is completely clueless. And having elected leaders, elected officials, and business leaders in the knife industry, in the gun industry, in every type of industry that you can imagine that has anything to do with the Second Amendment, having them be open with their schedules and allowing them to come to us and say their piece and educate us, that is something that we desperately need more of. And that's why we exist, to help foster that home for that kind of conversation that's very important to have. And I look forward to hopefully in the near future having an event centered around the issue of mental health, because that is a huge issue right now that is being tied in, as it should be, with the gun debate, with the Second Amendment. And I feel like, especially as young adults, we don't get everything right. I'll go ahead and admit that. But there has been a lot more focus in recent days on mental health. And I don't know if it's due to my generation bringing more to light about that or what it is, but it is an important topic to have. And that ties into this entire conversation that we have, especially when it comes to the elected officials that we put into office, because they need to take that a little bit more seriously than they have in recent times. I think the light of day is kind of shining on that for them all to see.
Thank you, Adam. Okay, so get ready with your questions. We've got about 15 more minutes with these leaders. And with that, I'd like to address, you don't have to be here on the stage to do what we need done. You're a leader in your community, you're a leader at work, you're a leader in your church. You get your friends and family to vote and go vote for the values that we count on. So whether or not you're running your county party, whether or not you're running your own advocacy group, whether or not you're president of whatever, But you also know that we can give up, we can snatch defeat out of the jaws of victory. So we have to participate, that you're here today, you're contributing your Saturday. We appreciate that, and there's so much more to do before the elections in November. So thanks for being here. Want to ask if you have questions for any of these leaders here now. Bring them up. Where do we go? You need a microphone?
No, that's okay, if everybody can hear me. So I'm primarily an audio engineer. I contract all around Atlanta doing audio engineering and check the paint. So what I have fallen into is doing a lot of Democratic events. And I,
Okay, so hang on. What's your question?
yeah, I'm getting to it.
No. What's your question? We get 15 minutes with these guys.
Yep,
What's your question?
Well, my question is, needs a little context. I've heard about their target demographics. They spend a lot of money on that stuff. I'm wondering how you guys are targeting those same demographics, because they are the majority of the Atlanta area. So besides looking for like-minded people, how are you targeting those people as well?
You want to start on that first part?
Sure, of course.
The biggest thing that we do is try to get out the word by word of mouth, and our social media presence has been a little bit rocky because of whatever the algorithms or anything that Zuckerberg has against us, but that's something that we are improving on and getting on. So it takes all of you, it takes our party leaders, it takes our elected officials, and it takes our members to bring a friend, bring two friends, and spread it by word of mouth in that regard so far. As far as how the Democrats are targeting all of my generation, or however you want to phrase it, I mean, they are. And they're not stopping at our generation. They're going younger with our kids. And I'm not a parent, but I guess one day I will be, for good Lord provides. So we need to make sure that we not only give our generation that haven to talk about our values, to strengthen them up, because the day's gonna come when they're gonna have to choose which school to send their kids to. And if the educators are pretty much being lobbyists for the Democratic Party and teaching us talking points to the kids to flip them to the other side, we need to be able to have the facts behind us and the core strength in our values to reaffirm to our kids, this is not the way that we have to go. This is what we believe in. This is what we believe is right. And ultimately, I think that if we reinforce the nuclear family, which we've kind of lost in recent days, that's going to be a huge help to making sure that not only we strengthen our numbers, but we also reaffirm to other people, because it's honestly really refreshing. I keep saying that word, but it's true. It's refreshing to be with like-minded individuals. And when you have other individuals that come to our group that are kind of rocky because they've never been given that vine to grow off of, it's really good to hear some of these things that, you know, other generations before us have said, but we've never really latched onto, and to be in that group, it's just a reaffirmation of our values. And I think that's a really big component to what's going to be able to grow us and help target others. So it's other generations, it's us, and it's going to take all of you to help us with that.
Thanks, Adam. I think, and that's a perfect question. That gives a lot of what our message is. How do we get our message out? How are you guys getting the message out?
Well, we interact with people on social media, and we have put together this flyer because this is about engaging the gun owner that doesn't fit the typical stereotype to reach out and target people that may not actually vote, that may not be affiliated with a political party, that may be Democratic. So if you're interested in this, you can go to the DC Project website. I have a few flyers I'm going to hand out. Mostly what we're trying to do is engage people in a statesman-like way. We really have to unify our country, and what better way to do it over the most fundamental right, the Second Amendment. We don't get angry. I had a cousin who was an ex-special forces guy, and he told me a long time ago, if you get mad, you die. You gotta keep thinking, and it's the same with debating. Don't let somebody drag you down. Don't be ugly. We're all Americans. We may not agree with each other politically. We we may not agree with each other on a lot of different things, but the Second Amendment is so important. Look at what's happening in Ukraine, okay? Look what's happening on our southern borders. As as Russia is engaging with these dictators that can drive to our location. This is a very important thing. I've actually tried to engage and talk to liberals on Twitter. You know, I'm a very conservative woman, but I believe we are all humans. We all have a right to protect ourselves. And I think that there are a lot of liberal-minded people that understand now, since they've seen kind of what's happened in Ukraine, they've kind of understood that. You know, imagine if somebody comes in and takes your house and you can never go back. And it seems extreme, but really that's what this is about. And if we allow our rights to get chipped away, that's where we'll end up. And that's universal for everybody. Social media, talk to people face to face. You can't control criminals, but maybe you can help intervene and create the creation of a criminal by mentoring somebody in your neighborhood. You know, the world changes one step at a time, and each of you has the power to change the world. Communicate with people about violence, about self-defense, about gun safety. You know, and remember that it is an equalizer. When you are on social media, don't be ugly to each other. I mean, that's one of the things that we're really trying to encourage at the DC Project. Don't talk about the Constitution. I mean, I like to talk about the Constitution because that's my field of work, but let's talk about our families. You know, think about the fact that how we go in our backyards and we don't have to have big fences around our yards. We don't have to have so many things that they endure in other countries. And all that is really hanging by a thread. And you need to impress upon people that don't agree with you that that's the universal reality. And we agree more than we think we do, because all of us want to live in peace. We all want to live in freedom, and we all want to live in safety. And that's the common ground. We got to find it.
Patrick, how do you get your message out? How do we do this?
First and foremost, I talk about education a lot as an instructor, and not just along the lines of this is how you use this piece of equipment. It's also about, you know, if your mindset is in the wrong mindset, if you're angry or upset, probably not the best time to use a firearm, you know. But as far as like the education is concerned, there's a lot of changing faces in the 2A community, and there's a lot of tech smart folks that are combating those changes. However, they're absent-minded. There's a lot of folks out there that are trying to come up with their own legislation, be all, end all, solve all with one swoop of the pen. We have over 20,000 laws on the books right now. And some of them are very ineffective. In fact, some of them are detrimental to the society and the communities that we live in. So when it comes to helping to detest a lot of this issues that we're having out there, we need to reintroduce critical thinking, problem solving, de-escalation techniques, and true political science. Those are the core fundamentals that will help change how we make people think.
Good, thanks. Kelby, do we have time for one more?
Yeah, we've got about 10 more minutes.
Quite, yep. Let me go to the one in the back first.
Hi there. You announced that there are 40 million new gun owners. Is there any publicly available data that we can use to target those people for a political message?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys want to address this. The short answer is no. However, for most of the firearm sales that work through a legal gun store, when a person buys a firearm, typically they'll get a sign up for NRA or sign up for USCC, some type of training course along with that. And so we hope to get them on that. But that's what they, but otherwise, in terms of gaining lists of firearms purchasers to provide to political groups, We don't have that. Another question. Question for these guys. Let's go right here.
My name is Renato Almeida from Cobb County. Follow-up question to what you said. Sometimes I feel that my emails just don't go anywhere when I email my representatives or senators. So you said that there are better ways to engage with them. So what do you suggest? Email, call them? What do you suggest would be the message to engage with them?
Do it, communicate. So many of us don't think that we have any power or that no one cares what we say. But when we went to Congress, we always hear from them that they need to hear from us. I would suggest that any chance, any method that you get the opportunity to communicate, and don't just do your members of Congress, you need to talk to your local county commissioners, you go to your local school boards. I was a journalist before I covered local government, and those people can affect your lives a lot more. But I think that writing a letter to members of Congress has a little more oomph, because if you call, you're getting an aide, and that aide may be too tired to write down your stuff. A letter is more likely to end up in front of a member of Congress, because so few people write letters anymore. So put it on paper. But I would do that, I would email, and then lastly I would call. That would be the order to me, knowing what I know from having been in the halls of Congress, that would matter. Because if you take the time to send something snail mail, then that means that you feel pretty strongly about it. You can also call the local office. I think those people sometimes do a better job of keeping messages, but heaven forbid if you don't live in their district. Your question's never going to see the light of day. But do something, communicate, participate. Civics is so important. And so many people are happy to say, I don't read the paper, I don't do this, it's not worth it. And that's just wrong.
Well, thank y'all. Look, if nothing else, the DC Project each year travels to Washington, and they walk from House member to Senate member into their offices, making appointments to let them know our story, our values. You can do the same here in the state. For those of you that don't have the wherewithal or the time to go to the state capitol and do that, just as Chrissy said, you do that at the local level, let them know. And it's not just the folks who oppose us, let the folks who support us know that you got their back. And all of that's important. So the more we get involved, the more we're active, the more we participate, the more we get America that's free. An America that we believe in, that does what we know needs to be done for America and for our children. So I encourage you, get on the campaign. If you have not campaigned before, if you've not participated in a campaign, jump on the campaign. You're going to have the most fun you've ever had. And I'll tell you, if you don't make lifelong friends when you're done with the campaign, you're doing something wrong. Because when you're in the trenches with somebody, between now and November, you get to know them real well. There's a lot of fun, there's a lot of pressure, and you will know them for the rest of your lives. It's a blast. So participate, make some phone calls, do some lip drops, participate with NRA meetings like this, and support leaders like this. So Kristen, Patrick, Adam, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for being here. All of you, thank you for helping us with the great support. What do we have next? What's up?
We're going to take a break here for our refreshment break and some lunch. So everybody go out there, grab some lunch, come back in. We want everybody seated again by 1:30 if that's okay, and bring your plates in here and enjoy the camaraderie. Thank you, Willis, and thank you to our panelists. We really appreciate y'all. And everybody go grab some lunch.
Yeah, well, and honestly,
Hearing risk is cumulative effect as well.
NRA highway?
But
To get to the office here in a couple minutes. Oh, really? Yeah, I'm gonna go touch base with Bruce before I leave.
and
We're
honestly,
doing some contract company that does their own, but they've got a machine down, and that happens about once every year or two. And so when they do that, they call us, and we don't drop what we're doing, but we act like we drop what we're doing. Go and just take care of them. And I've got some guys working. We do it 7 days a week for a couple of weeks. Hopefully they'll get their machine running, but they got to go make sure they're on the right track. This is our first weekend doing the work. Started yesterday.
there are times that are always
Check on them and make sure everything's going like it's supposed to, and the machines are working and running, and we've got the supplies we need to do it.
So what is your business exactly? What do you do?
It's an industrial service company. We recondition big, heavy industrial machine knives that cut and process steel, mainly steel, but also paper and plastic and a lot of specialty stuff like adult incontinence products and things like that. Anything that goes through a process and has to be trimmed or cut or recycled.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you say
we do work for companies that manufacture, and some of them just process steel. They'll take steel from a mill, and it'll be up on thin enough to wrap up on a big coil, which you may have seen on the backs of flatbed trucks, and then they'll slit it down to different widths, and it'll go on to make
pretty cool. And like
chair frames or road signs, automobiles, appliances, aircraft, guns. Although most of it is not going to guns. I mean, it could be like an AK. They're machining steel to make guns and not bending it and pressing it and stamping it.
outside
Usually. We do work for a lot of companies in Metro Atlanta, throughout Georgia, and throughout the Southeast. Our furthest customers are in Virginia, Louisiana, and Mississippi. So we don't have the market saturated out that far, but we have it saturated here, and then we've gone out and picked cherries and companies that have problems with that tooling. There aren't many domestic manufacturers that make that tooling, but if they're having trouble keeping it maintained on the other side of the country, the manufacturer will say, whoever's doing this work for you is not doing it right, and we can prove it if you'll send it to this company in Atlanta, they'll do it right, and then they turn around and either we keep that business or they, their local source or a regional source will correct what they're doing and do what they're supposed to do. So we work with a few domestic manufacturers, and then there's a German manufacturer, and they're known to make for what they make. They're known to make the best product in the world. And it's expensive. But anytime they have trouble with theirs, we know how to fix it, and so they'll either take it in and send it to us because they don't do any grinding or any maintenance here in the States. It's just a sales office. It's all made in Germany, but if they're having trouble here in the U.S., they'll send stuff to us. That's a compliment to us because there's a company like ours in every major market, and sometimes 2 or 3 or 4, depending on how big the market is. This is not a huge market. Like a lot of the manufacturing and a lot of this process is done in the Midwest or in the Northwest, like Pennsylvania.
The slide, the barrel.
We do more work the type that we do in this market than anybody else. And we do really good with this. And we tell a customer we're going to do something, it's good. We move heaven and earth, and the occasions to where we can or something happens, we contact them and say, hey, you need to know this, and they appreciate that because a lot of them, a lot of customers we have, they don't make anything. They're processing steel, and the whole purpose for this whole big 100,000 square foot facility is to run steel for their machinery, and to do that, they've got to use knives that we recondition. And if we don't do what we're supposed to do, they can't do anything. Since anybody should, they've got salespeople. So they depend on a company like ours to do that, or they do it themselves. They're not doing it themselves if it's a pretty good size company.
Hey, how are you? It's good to see you. See you since I guess since the rally, right?
Yeah.
That's the last time I saw you.
March.
March the 2nd.
March.
That was the
March
second.
the
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So how was life?
It's good. Life is good. Yeah, I thought that things were going to slow down after all the sections started closing up, but I swear they're getting bigger.
Yeah.
How about y'all?
Same. We're trying to do a major outreach right now. Mostly because, I mean, obviously we're not doing anything with the legislature right now. But there's plenty of things to do, especially, have you seen the commercials that Stacey Abrams? Oh my God.
Radio commercials. Not
Yeah,
that we're talking about.
but even the TV, she has a nurse in there talking about how obnoxious guns are. I mean, and the problem is, they always go for the touchy. Okay? There's always feel about it.
Yeah.
But they're effective because a lot of people don't know any better. They're actually believing what they say.
Yeah.
And this is what we need to go back. Now you have superheroes coming from Hollywood that are anti-gun.
Superheroes that made millions of dollars
Right.
carrying and shooting guns. in
Right.
movies.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right. But now they are anti-gun.
Yeah.
Or gun control.
They're calling it gun safety now. They're getting away from gun.
Right, right. So we need to combat that. We need to touch a lot of those. I mean, here we are preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be shares. But the thing is going to certain areas or certain audiences where they don't really have an opinion. They don't know any better. The only thing that they're hearing is Stacey Abrams. Abrams commercial, right? Or all the other garbage that is coming out of Washington. So we need to do that, actually.
And they're hearing that Governor Kemp signed a gun bill that made it easier for criminals to carry.
Correct.
Criminal.
And he accepted a contribution, made a contribution for the guy for the company who built the gun that killed all those children.
The gun that killed the children, not the asshole carrying it.
Right. We need to combat that because they're being effective at that. We need to really get to it. And maybe it's education, but it's education to a point that you need to be, well, I like what she said. DC project, the approach that they have, they're basically in a they're not late to fight.
Yeah.
Good job, man. Yes, thank you, man. Good job, likewise. Yeah.
You did good as always, Patrick.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Before blowing them still.